Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, one question being asked this morning: should there be a different level of proof required in cases of family abuse? It's something the Children's Commissioner Anne Longfield has suggested after the case of 13-month-old Poppy Worthington. Last week, a family court judge ruled that on the balance of probabilities, Poppy Worthington had been sexually assaulted by her father before she died at her home in 2012. He was arrested at the time and questioned, but never charged. The Crown Prosecution Service had previously said there was insufficient evidence to provide a realistic prospect of conviction. Poppy's father denies any wrongdoing. Well, Anne Longfield, the Children's Commissioner for England, joins us now to explain exactly what she thinks needs to change. Good morning, thanks for coming in. Tell us what you think does need to change.
Well, I think what this case does, I mean, this is a terrible case, very sad, and it's 3 years since this little girl has died. So there's 3 years and we're still not much closer in knowing what happened. But what I think it really illustrates is how problematic the whole notion of beyond reasonable doubt is for the cases, many of the cases around child sexual abuse. Now, there was evidence in this case, but it was discarded. So we're back to the place that so many of the cases are, where children are unable to give firm details. Often they won't come forward until many months, even years after the incident happened. So forensic evidence is almost non-existent very often, and also the child can often become very muddled about recalling dates and the like. So the burden of absolute proof is something which very many children struggle with. It means that most of the cases actually don't get to court and aren't successful.
So, to be absolutely clear, are you saying that in the criminal courts there should be a lower threshold for cases of child abuse?
What I'm saying is there needs to be a debate. I'm saying that at the moment the beyond reasonable doubt is not fit for purpose for the majority of child sexual abuse cases that are being reported. It means that very few can actually get to the courts at all because they can't bring forward that evidence. Now, what we've seen in this case is there has been a ruling by the judge on the basis of probability that it probably happened, although acknowledging that the father here denied all claims. I'm not saying that we should dilute the legal process or that we should embrace the probability rating at all, but it does mean, I think, at this stage, that if we're serious about tackling child abuse, we want to protect children as much as we possibly can and bring those to justice that have harmed children, then we do need to look at different ways of getting evidence. And I think that means the police, the judiciary and social services need a serious conversation about what can be the best evidence if we know that many of the traditional forms of evidence aren't just going to be there.
When you say that beyond reasonable doubt is not fit for purpose, at the same time as saying you want there to be a debate on how evidence is treated in courts in the future, it sounds like you have already decided you think that it should be balance of probabilities rather than beyond reasonable doubt.
What I'm saying is that at the moment the need to prove beyond reasonable doubt is just very, very problematic for the majority of cases, because if you've got an 8 or 9-year-old who maybe has suffered a number of incidences over the last 5 years, they will be telling a story, they won't be able to remember dates, they won't have forensic evidence, and that will mean at the moment that all of their evidence will be discounted on that basis. So we need to really look at how we can best replace that or enhance that, which gives more children protection both for justice and also going forward.
What about justice being served for everybody, for the accused as well? Because when you're talking about denying somebody their liberty and convicting in a criminal court, our justice system is predicated, always has been, on beyond reasonable doubt.
And, you know, that's why I say in no way must we dilute the legal system. That's very important. That must remain. But knowing what we do, it does demand that we have the conversation, I think. And what it also demands is that social services and police themselves have much greater levels of involvement. They talk and are much more in touch about this. They work together in a much greater way than they have been before. So it's not easy. It's very complicated. It's hidden. we're not talking here about diluting the legal process, but I think knowing that we can't bring convictions on the experience of child sexual abuse, then I think something has to change.
I'm not clear, though, on exactly what you think could change without diluting the criminal justice system as it is.
Some of it is about the levels of evidence and how the evidence is gathered. So, for instance, the police have a really clear role in ensuring that the best evidence is brought forward. Now, they are very committed to doing that, but sometimes it depends on when the evidence is gathered, how it's gathered and the like. So
that's a matter for policing, isn't it?
It is.
And every individual investigation.
It is. But sometimes the level of evidence beyond reasonable doubt, the forensic evidence, for instance, just isn't there. Now, it may be that we can't improve it and we have to look at remaining where we are, but actually knowing that it doesn't work so very often for children who've experienced sexual abuse means that I think we have to ask the questions at least, and that's something that I'm going to be doing with the police and with social services over the next 6 months.
Does it make a complete mockery of the legal system when we have something like we have got now, which is that the father absolutely denies the allegations. He has not faced criminal charges, and yet a family judge is saying that he did sexually abuse this child?
Well, I think it makes it very confusing and very problematic. So we're in a situation where we know little more than we did. In legal terms, there's been no conviction. We're told that there can be no more criminal investigations until there's further evidence, but clearly there are concerns. Now, again, social services and the police must work together in this to make sure that other children are safeguarded.
Anne Longfield, thank you very much. And thank you very much for joining us today.
I've been getting away with it all my